Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Buster Brown. Hey, handsome. Hey, gorgeous. Love you a bunch. I love a God I can't see, so I must love you, and you must love me. We have to see each other, love each other. Right. And I love to say this, Judge Cubbage, is that if you see someone that's not smiling, let them borrow yours. That's the one thing you guarantee to get back.
Yes.
You know, when you let somebody borrow your smile, they'll give it right back.
That's right.
That's how that thing works. Listen, today I have a very special guest on the show. Good friend of mine. I've known her forever.
Yeah.
Assistant District Attorney, Guilford County Assistant Attorney General, North Carolina Department of Justice, District Court Judge, and former Governor Roy Cooper appointed you to serve as North Carolina Superior Court Judge. And our current judge gave you the greatest honor a North Carolinian can get. Like when you got the call that you were inducted to receive the Order of the Lone Leaf Pine, when you received a phone call, then the day of the induction, what was that like?
So when I received a phone call, I was in conference in Wilmington.
Agreed.
And I saw the number come up, governor's office, right? So of course you get out of the conference and you go answer the phone. And when they told me that we want to honor you with the Order of the Longleaf Pine, David had to say, Judge Cubbage, Judge Cubbage. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you. But honestly, I thought they had me mixed up. I thought they had me mixed up with someone else, right? And I was like, I bet they got me confused. Right. So I called no one. They said they was going to send me an email to give me the specifics. They just wanted to check to see if April the 24th was a clear date. And I was like, yeah, it's a clear date, but I told no one.
Wow.
And so probably about a week and a half later, I get the email and I'm like,
this is real.
Maybe they don't have me mixed up.
Wow.
Okay, well, now I'm going to tell people, and now I'm going to show up.
Right.
And if they do have me mixed up, now I'm kind of going to force their hand.
You'll force their hand. Wow.
Because you can't get the phone number and then get the email and still claim that you have me mixed up.
Right.
But
but your work speaks for itself. This is Judge Lora Cubbage, everybody. Yes, the beautiful Judge Lora Cubbage. And that is like amazing. It was you and 7 others,
yes,
right? 7 others.
Uh-huh.
And that is the highest honor a North Carolinian can receive. I'm sure your family's just so proud of you.
Yes, and all my sisters came down to share in that day with me, which was amazing. And it is the highest honor that a civilian can get in North Carolina. But I think I was raised so much with let your work speak for you, right? And you'll notice that whenever I'm speaking and someone wants to give me an accolade or whenever I have to write something, my ending words are always going to be, may the work I've done speak for me. And that's the way I was raised. So sometimes when these awards come, I'm still like, me? Because it's just natural for me to be in the community,
it's just
to
humble.
Be serving. Yeah,
that's
always.
A beautiful thing. That's
always,
a beautiful thing. When you're always in the process of trying to be like Christ, it keeps you humble.
Oh yeah.
It just keeps you humble, and you're always in that. So now you're the deputy city attorney for the city of Greensboro.
Yes.
That's huge. Why the transition?
Oh.
Because that's a huge transition.
It is.
And I heard you say that now you're going to step into an area of law that you have to learn.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and why the transition.
So why the transition? I've been talking with the city attorney for about 2 years.
Right.
Loved my time on the bench. I absolutely loved being a judge. But I start to look at things from different angles, which is every step I've made in my career has been doing that. And so now what I have been beginning to see is the disconnect between law enforcement and the community. And you hear it nationwide, you know, from the 2020 incidents with George Floyd all the way up to just now with just respecting, you know, one another. And so I'm always thinking how to bridge that gap to let people, hopefully help people to understand law enforcement is not here to do anything negative to you, right? And in all honesty, Buster, I can honestly say that in my 20 years of being through the different, serving in different capacities in the judicial system, I have not worked with law enforcement who was not doing what they were supposed to do. And so I understand the incidents out here around the world, and possibly someone else's experience in Greensboro is not mine. It's totally different. But I wanted to be able to take back to all of the community. This has been my 20 years experience. And there are bad actors everywhere.
Sure are.
In every what we call fraternity, right? Whether it's a judge fraternity, police fraternity, whatever. But overall, in the big scheme of things, people are going and they are trying to serve and to help others in law enforcement. And so I thought, here's an opportunity for me that is going to be beneficial for me as a person, as in my career and in the community. Because when they see someone else out there advocating for law enforcement, for community, and then maybe and someone that they trust, because I really do think the community trusts me.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they see me out there, it may not happen overnight, but little by little, they'll be able to open up and say, maybe it's not as bad as I think.
As you were saying that, Lora, I was sitting there thinking, this is a phenomenal thing because I know the community trusts you. I rode with you in the car when we were marshals, grand marshals together. And I watch how the people like Judge Cubbage, they love and respect you.
Yeah.
So when you took this job and I read about it, I'm like, wow, this is the person that's gonna give the community that transparency they need. And not just give them transparency, they're gonna receive it. And that's a big deal. And as you know, Greensboro is a very diverse community, very diverse city. And you are an African-American woman, and you never apologize for that.
Not at all.
And you stand strong on that. Explain how the strategy in finding that balance with this huge diverse community here in Greensboro, where all people feel like they're being heard and nobody's trying to pull, Judge Cubbage. You're not speaking up for the black people enough. Oh, now it seems like you're speaking more for the black.
Right.
How do you find that balance?
Well, I think, and this came from my time on the bench and having to listen, right? And so for the most part, people do just want to be heard. And there's a little bit, you and I could see things totally different, but there's a little bit of your perspective in my perspective and vice versa. And so when we first start with the commonality, okay, let's start with the common grounds, what we see. And then we can come together on, the things that we do differ on. Because what I've learned over the years, that it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, what your race, what your religion, what your gender, you have so much more in common. There's so much more that bonds us than that separates us. And if we just stop and listen, we'll see we're not that far apart on anything, on any issue. So, for instance, everybody wants to be safe, right?
Absolutely.
You've got some communities that say they're over-policed. You've got other people that say they're not being policed at all, and they need more police presence. But the commonality there is both groups of people want to be safe. So that's where we start. And then when we meet in the middle is how do we balance you not being over-policed and you having more police presence? And when we realize that we're not starting from totally opposite sides of the fence where you want A and I want Z, but we both want A in some form or fashion. And I think because
that's huge.
Yeah, and I think because of the trust that the community has, and they know I'm going to be transparent. They've
seen that on the bench.
Yes, they've seen that on the bench.
You've been very fair with people.
Yes.
And especially people that you knew deserved a chance.
Yes.
You gave them a chance.
Yeah. But we have to own our own stuff.
Right.
Right? We have to own it. And so a lot of people go into situations where their starting point is from a place of defense. No, let's play offense. And when we play offense, then everybody wins. And I want you to win as much as I want me to win.
Right.
And, in a game, there's a loser and a winner. But when you get back into, when each individual team goes back to their individual locker rooms, I assure you, even the losing team coach is talking about the wins in that game and what they did right.
Absolutely.
Because, you can't do everything wrong. And so I think that people I've been given a gift from God of the gift of compromise, right? And I've been able, even on the bench, been able to make people see actually where they come together more than they are apart.
One of the things as I listen to you, when you win, everyone wins.
Yeah.
See, and that's what you want the community to understand. When the city and law enforcement and the city officials and leaders, when they win, we all win.
We all win.
Because you're after everybody's good.
That's right.
And what's fair for everybody.
That's right.
You're the first Superior Court judge to become a deputy city attorney.
Yes.
What does that mean to you personally and professionally?
Well, personally, I find it huge because it means that the city attorney, as well as other members, of the city management, executive slate and legislative slate, they have trusted me and my ability to help lead the city. And what it means so career rise, of course, it is a huge, but what it means for me, like in terms of the community, right? So here's the big thing. The question that a lot of people ask, how are you gonna give up the black robe and give up the title of being a judge, right? And one of the things
Was it scary?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Because one of the things I've always said, I am here to impact, not impress. So titles mean absolutely nothing to me. There is plenty of people in black robes that aren't doing a damn thing but wearing a black robe. There's plenty of people that will never have on a black robe that are impacting the community in strong ways, strong and long-lasting ways. And so for me, it's not about a title in front of my name. It's about what work can I do. Right now, we are in a time period where the judicial system, the law enforcement system, and the community, there's such a humongous gap that there's no respect. And so,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
on both ends. On both ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the community is not safe. Police are going out and they're scared. They want to go home at night. Their spouses, their families want them to come home at night. Everybody's scared. When police meet
of each other. That's the crazy part. Yeah.
And so we've got to try to, overcome that. And when we get away from the title and some type of power structure and really concentrate on doing the work, it's going to take those of us on one side and those of us on another side to come together and say, let's talk.
Right.
Let's get to the bottom of what's wrong.
And we have to talk.
And try to fix it.
You know what's interesting about the sacrifice you're making from giving up the black robe and the bench? Because that's power.
Yeah.
Right? But you're saying, look, I'm not about titles. I'm about impacting lives.
Yes.
That's a conversation I have all the time about where we are today as far as leaders. We don't have the leaders like Judge Cubbage that's making the sacrifices they made in the 50s and 60s to get us here. They gave up so much. I mean, Dr. King could have been a billionaire.
Yes, easily.
Right? Some of the people back in the day, the sacrifices they made, they didn't have. Harriet Tubman didn't have to come back.
That's right.
The woman was brilliant. She could have went on to become a successful businesswoman. She was good to go. But it took those sacrifices for you to be where you are today. And you realize it's going to take those same sacrifices to keep us moving forward.
Right.
Because we stopped for a little bit. I think you can agree.
Oh, yeah.
We are at a standstill. And it's going to take people to believe in you, to believe in your vision, to believe in her vision, to support Judge Cubbage, to make this thing happen in Greensboro. Let's talk about some of the initiatives that you're going to champion that's going to make this happen.
Well, some of the things that we're working on as a management team in the city attorney's office is becoming more visible. making sure that people understand that, we're there, what our role is, the things that we handle. As far as being in the city attorney's office, we're basically like a corporate law firm. We're handling everything from a legal aspect for the city, from real estate, the land use, to water resources, to public safety. Everything comes through the city attorney's office, even if it's just a contract for review or drafting the ordinance, drafting the resolution. I'm also doing the legislative piece.
Oh, wow.
So I'm lobbying not lobbying, but working with the lobbyists for the city to bring funds in, to, get programs going. I am helping folks in different departments start the nonprofits to bring programs to Greensboro, like for our young kids. We have a nonprofit right now that we're going through the process of starting up. That's called the Public Safety Foundation, right? That will be geared toward bringing programs for our youth in the summertime, so that they're not just sitting idly at home, that they're actually doing something. Imagine the programs that you run. Imagine if we can get a lot more school-age children in one of your programs. So it's not just me in the city attorney's office, it's me partnering with Buster Brown for the New Cool Movement, and getting more people in there to see that everything is not what you see right there in your environment. And I used to tell people all the time,
I dig that.
You want to know what's going on more than what's going on in front of your front door, right? But there are some kids, but for these programs, that will never meet you.
Wow.
That will never meet you. And, in my mind, every child should have an opportunity to meet Buster Brown, to meet Judge Cubbage, to understand the New Cool Movement is just what you're doing now. You and I came to Greensboro around about the same time. And so I've known your name as long as you've known mine.
Absolutely.
Right? So
I watch you cut hair and read your law book between cutting hair. You used to cut my boys' hair.
Yes.
You know, one of the funniest stories that stick with me, Judge Cubbage, is that, so I used to bring Cameron to you, and then Corey, came in our lives, and they're the same age, let it go. You know my business. So Corey came, and I didn't want Corey to feel like Cameron meant more to me than he did. So I put him in your chair. And when you started cutting his hair, Cameron started crying, because I put Cameron in Tim's chair, because I'm thinking, okay, Cameron knows Tim. And then Cameron started crying because he's so used to being the one. And I think about that story, and Tim comforted him, you comforted Corey, and we got past that day.
We did.
And everything. So it was amazing, man.
And that was, how old is Cameron now?
Cameron's 25.
And Corey?
25.
So
Yeah. You trying to call me out?
No.
So you make sure I say, she just wanted me to say
what I wanted to make sure everybody understood is 25 years.
25 years.
In some capacity, even if you and I are not working directly together, you're over here impacting, I'm over here impacting. And we're just, we're helping the kids, trying to be the best that they can be what they want to be.
And you were touching people then and building relationships and trust even then. So when you became a judge, assistant district attorney at first, that was a no-brainer.
And it was the only way I got through law school, was those relationships that I built, because in going through law school, college and law school as a single parent, I had to rely on my customers to help pay the bills. And so they stuck with me. They would, making appointments, coming in first thing in the morning, last thing at night, around their schedules. And so they're just as much a part of my history as I am. And making sure that it happened.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because without those relationships that I made for those 17 years standing behind that chair, I would never be here.
Wow. And you and Tim still moving strong. Isn't that crazy?
Listen.
I mean, because that was then and here is now.
Listen.
Let's reflect back on whatever you can share on camera. Let's reflect back on when you were a judge, maybe a case or moment that you can reflect on that tells us who Lora Cubbage is. Not deputy city attorney, not judge, but a case or moment reflecting back as a judge that tells us, this is Lora Cubbage. Can you think of one?
Oh, I have two of my most proud moments. As a DA, wasn't a judge then, but as a DA, there's a young man headed to Duke to play football. In high school, his senior year, he has a girlfriend that's over at Salem College. He's driving home, accidentally crossed over the center line. Don't know why, still don't know why, but just veered over just the center line, wasn't asleep, wasn't texting, and hit a car head on, killed the driver of the car. And that would have almost derailed his entire college career and scholarship, because he would have never been able to go to Duke but for the scholarship. At the beginning of this horrible tragedy, the family of the driver wanted him incarcerated, right? In law, that's a misdemeanor because the underlying charge was crossing the center lane, right? So it was a vehicular homicide, but it was a misdemeanor. Still, because it was on the books as a crime, it still would have derailed him. So what I did was just talk to both sides continuously.
Wow.
Continuously. And then I took a chance that I felt faithfully was going to work and had them to meet.
Wow.
Listen, I know this is going to be painful.
And that's normally you never do that.
Right,
wow.
But I just want you to meet this young man. I want you to meet this family. To the young man and the family, I want you to meet this family who loved this man, who the driver meant everything to them.
Wow.
And so in coming together at the end of that case, the family of the deceased driver wanted to make sure that this young man had his opportunity to go to college.
Wow.
And he went to college. He did great. He is now still going great. And in fact, me and his older brother are really, really good friends.
Wow.
Really, really good friends.
That's amazing.
I keep up with him. Second story is 19-year-old. I have to incarcerate for first-degree murder of a 16-year-old over $50.
Wow.
Over a fake $50 bill. No, it wasn't fake. It was marijuana sale. And the 16-year-old female gets the marijuana in her hand and takes off running. And there's a driver that has a 19-year-old in the passenger seat, put a gun in his hand. At the time, he was 16. And by the time he came to court, he was 19, put a gun in his hand and yelling, shoot, 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 because the 16-year-old took off running.
Running, right.
And so he pulls the trigger.
Oh my God.
Shoots her in the back of the head. It was the moment, and it was 2019, I believe, or 2020, when society was going crazy and all the marches and protests were going on. And the courtroom was full, and I had an opportunity to talk to folks and tell them the realness of what's going on in society and how we absolutely stand up for what's right when it comes to law enforcement, police brutality, but we also have to own our own stuff when it comes to criminal behavior. We cannot continue to go out and say the police did this and this and that and that, and not go to the other side and realize that 9 times out of 10 before any officer shows up, there is a call. There is a call that's made. And then we have to sit down and try to dig down to the facts of that. And we cannot just take sound bites from the news. But at the same time, we also as a community have got to address what our young kids are doing to each other.
Yeah, that's sad.
Because, and I said in my diatribe that we're burying one 16-year-old and I'm caging a 19-year-old.
Caging a 19-year-old.
We've lost 2 people.
Nate, my 12-year-old son, is working on this speech, which is interesting. And in the speech, he talks about something he saw that says, this is the generation that some stats say will die before their parents. And Nate and I talked about that, and he said, how selfish is that his generation are moving in that direction, leaving the world worse than what it is today for their kids and their kids.
Yes.
He said, that's selfish. 12.
Yeah.
12. And that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
These babies are just taking each other out. And
they are leaving as babies with babies.
With babies.
Yes.
And like you said, we don't want to own it.
We have to.
We don't want to own it, Lora. And that is so good. What does that say about you? Those two, what does that say about Lora Cubbage? No titles. What do you want people to say about you when they hear those stories?
One, of course, it's cliche, but it's true that I want people to say that I left my little part of the world better than when I found it. And I want someone to be able to say, she made a difference in my life, whether I know it or not. I want them to be able to say that as a single mom, you can go and be anything that you want. So being a single mom is not the end of it for you. You can go and be whatever you want. I want them to say, as a young woman, as a Black woman, as a woman, you can be anything that you want. I want them to say that, yes, you can sit on a bench as a judge, but do not let a title make you. When it's time to leave because you have another area that God is pushing you in to impact, don't get so hung up on the mortal things in life or the carnal things in life, right? Because that was a big step, right? Judges have power. I have absolutely no power. My boss was the voters. I have a boss now. I get elected and I serve. I can get fired now. So it's a lot of security that I left to go over here to an insecure world. But I have to have trust that if that's the direction God is sending me, I have to have trust in God and faith to know that that's where I'm supposed to be.
Because now you have the power with God.
Yeah.
And when you're relying on that power, you're good. No matter what the results are.
Exactly, no matter what.
You are good. So what core values that your parents instilled in you that you had to get where you are, and you're going to continue throughout your career as Lora Cubbage?
Yes. What my parents always told us was, whatever it is that you want to be or do, you do it with integrity. You do it with integrity. And the rest will fall in place.
The rest will just fall in place. I'm sure there's some young ladies watching this, or just heard about you at North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University.
The illustrious.
Right, yeah. So, and I'm sure they know about you. What do you say to them today? And what does Deputy Attorney say to Lora back then? What do this Lora say to young Lora and young Black girls today?
This Lora says that to the little Lora back then was, everything's not always what it seems at that moment. That you have to keep trusting and you have to keep pushing forward. And you can't get distracted.
Right.
Don't get distracted, because distraction will get you derailed. I would also say that everything has to happen. When we sit around and we wonder and we kick ourselves, and I used to say, oh, I should be further along. When people ask me about college, and I would always say, well, I was supposed to graduate from college in like 93. And then I had to realize, no, I was supposed to graduate from college in 2002 when I did. Because everything in my life had to happen exactly the way it did for me to be right where I'm at.
So
today.
that's what you would tell
Little Lora.
Little Lora. Wow.
Yeah.
When did you know you had a calling to become a lawyer, to get into this field?
So one of my teachers in high school knew it.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was never exposed to an attorney, so I didn't know anything about it. But in high school, that's when I first remember it. I always took up for the underdog, stepping up. right in my mouth, right? What my mother and them used to say is, you always in somebody's business. That's what they used to say. But what the teacher said is, you might want to consider going to school to be a lawyer because you always taking up for the underdog. I never knew what that meant. I just knew that somebody other than me was sitting in a corner crying because somebody over here was picking on them for what I thought was no reason at all.
Right.
Or that they got a bad deal out of something, or just stop and listen to them. Let them explain why it happened, and then you might see it differently. When I was in the barber shop, a lot of my customers would come in year after year after year, and they'd have an experience. This is how I term it. What they're supposed to have an encounter with the judicial system, but they ended up marrying it. And I'm like, how does a traffic ticket become this lifelong relationship? Like, you're supposed to get in and get out, right?
Right.
Right. You're just going on one date.
Right.
You're not supposed to marry this. And so I was just like, this is not right. But I saw the effect of this traffic ticket. You know, you're going 15, 20 miles over, and you have this decent job, you have this car, you have this house, you have this family, and this one traffic ticket now has you walking with no driver's license, marriage gone, family lost. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Wow.
And so I'm like, how can I help? Well, how can you help? You can be a lawyer. Oh my goodness. That's what the teacher said.
Flashback.
Yes, that's what the teacher said, is you need to go to school and be a lawyer.
Right.
That's what, okay, so now it's all coming to me. Okay, I do need to go to school and be a lawyer, but what does that mean? I came to North Carolina, Buster, and I felt so dumb in the barbershop. I never got Black history in high school. I didn't know what an HBCU was.
Me either.
You know, all I knew was there's a school they call North Carolina A&T, and it seems to be, you know, all Black, but what does that mean? We're the only Black family in the town.
I thought Spike Lee made all that up in school days.
Right?
For real.
I was like, so while they're talking about Black history and they're calling out these HBCUs, I am, you know, going home and looking them up.
Right.
To, you know, almost like I did with the sports being in the barbershop. I would watch ESPN every night, come back and regurgitate what the commentator said. And all of you guys thought that I knew sports.
Right.
So this was no different. But
that's good.
Yeah, decided, okay, I got to go to college. I got to do this thing called an LSAT. After that, I got to do this 3 years of law school. And it was intimidating. And I had to sit down really and say, what is it that you want to do?
Wow.
And how can you do it? And once again, I grew up as a preacher's kid. So faith was something that was always taught. You never understand it till you have to activate it. Because I had no idea how I was going to pay the bills. No idea how I was going to support my child and myself and pay the bills.
And do that.
And many a nights, you know, the realness is there is a choice. There is a choice between paying the rent and eating. And there's a choice between me eating and her eating. But what I also realized is when you make those choices, and God sent me through that era of me going through college and law school as a single mom, because then I understood it better when I became a DA and I became a judge, that but for the grace of God, I was in that same spot.
And you could relate to
I
the
could
people
understand
that you
it,
came to
right?
that bench. Wow.
Sometimes it's not just about somebody going in the store stealing a pack of hot dogs. Sometimes it's about their children being hungry or not hungry.
It's a story behind it. Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
the
good.
economics of life, it's what affects a lot of what goes on in the judicial system.
And if you don't understand it, that's why this country's where I'm going to get into all that. But when you have these high-powered politicians that have no clue what the average person is going through, that's why a lot of the laws and a lot of things are happening. And we're feeling it big time. Let's lighten it up a little bit and tell me about little Lora, who is the twin of Lisa Cubbage. Tell me, what was little Lora like?
Oh my goodness, a rebel.
Hold that thought. I want to make sure nothing's messing up.
Okay.
Because it'll drive me crazy. Yay! I'll just edit it.
So little Lora.
So tell me, let's have a little bit of fun now. Lighten it up a little bit. What was little Lora like?
Little Lora was a rebel. Always defying.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I want to know the whys of everything. Everything is a why. I want to know the deep down. And I honestly do think if it's man-made, it's a loophole. I've always thought like that.
Wow.
Nothing is concrete that is immovable except what God made.
Right.
And so if it's something that's man-made, so of course, man-made in our house were the rules.
Right.
Right.
So they're going to be broken.
They can be broken.
Right. And you need to know why these rules even exist.
Why they exist. And in order to find out why they exist, sometimes you have to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. So now the consequences of that wasn't always fun.
Right. Not on the behind, man.
Right. Well, and what I can say is my mom was not a disciplinarian at all. Right. My father, I only remember getting whipped or spanked once. That was me and Lisa trying to go in the basement at 10 and smoke a cigarette. My dad had so much authority in his voice. It was
that was enough.
That was it.
Yeah, okay.
And if he looks at you with now what we call the side eye,
right.
and if he says the words "little girl," that was enough.
Right.
But I'm gonna push it.
Right.
I'm going right up to the edge of that cliff.
So I don't have to ask who was the bad twin.
Not at all.
You were the bad.
Yes.
Lisa was a little sweet one.
Yes, she was. And Lisa followed. I'm very much like my father. Lisa's very much like my mother.
Oh, wow.
My mother was the preacher.
Okay.
Lisa is an evangelist as well now. And so...
and so is Carol.
And so is Carol.
Your sister Carol.
Yes.
Right.
And so Lisa is not a disciplinarian. I'm very much the disciplinarian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so our children grew up very different.
Right.
My child would tell you, my mom was too strict. I left for college and didn't come back. So, not to the house. She went to A&T here, but when she moved out.
That is hilarious.
After high school, she's never lived with me since.
Wow. She's like, bye.
Lisa's son
came back.
Won't leave. So
he ain't going nowhere. So there's some advantages and disadvantages to that.
Yes.
Have you and Lisa ever tricked people, played games where they thought you were Lisa and Lisa was you?
Always.
Yeah.
So, and we still do that today, right? We'll say,
because you can't tell you
not at all.
to apart at all.
Not at all. We are identical twins clinically, but we do look a lot alike. We sound exactly alike.
Wow.
If we hear something on a voicemail or something, we have to go back in time and figure out who left that.
Oh, wow.
Because we sound exactly alike. Like, okay, where were you? Where were you? We do sound alike, but our personalities are so different.
Wow.
If you don't sit and talk to us, it will be hard. If you sit and talk to us, you will immediately know who's who.
Who's who.
Yes.
Right. And the thing is, Carol looks a lot like you.
Yes.
Too as well. You and Lisa are identical, but Carol looks a lot. It's like triplets almost. Right?
Carol used to live here in Greensboro, and people thought she and I were the twins.
I did when I first met y'all.
She looks a lot like
wow.
Me and Carol look a lot alike. And then if you put me and Carol and Lisa together, most people are going to think me and Carol are the twins. But all five of us look alike.
I had to find out that it was you and Lisa, not you and Carol, back in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
Yeah. That is crazy. Let's see how much you know about 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Ooh.
It's a game I call the 3 BQs, the 3 big questions. Okay? You ready? Just follow me here.
Okay.
Follow me here. On which TV show was Thelma and Keith engaged? And what did Keith do before he was injured?
Thelma and Keith were engaged on Good Times.
Yep.
And Keith played football.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Okay. 80s.
Okay.
80s. The singing brothers, Elle, Bobby, and James, what are their last name? And who is James engaged to?
Listen, who don't know that? That's a female, DeBarge.
Okay.
And James was engaged to Janet.
Woo! Okay. That's what's up. I think this is going to be easy for you because you're a 90s person.
Okay.
You grew up listening to me on the radio.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this one should be easy. In the 90s, this singing group, because they were too close to the young lady, she became his wifey. What group is that?
Because they were in the 90s.
Yeah, because they were too close, she became his wifey. Too close.
Next.
Yes, next. Next, there you go. Do you have a favorite hip hop artist?
I do.
Who?
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie, Notorious B.I.G.?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'll never forget I interviewed him.
Did you?
It was a bad situation. Oh my gosh. I don't know if Iris Spencer is mad at me because of that to this day. So Biggie was in town doing an after party with Power 97 when they were Power 97 and we were 102 Jams.
Okay.
And so I was interviewing him and Craig Mack. And I asked him about the after party. And Biggie, you know how Busta Brown was crazy back then. And so Biggie's like, hold on about the after party. And I'm like, you don't? And I'm thinking, I'm about to ruin their after party. So I kept getting him to say, we're not having an after. I say, so there's no after party at all. No, it's at my hotel. And so Iris was like, oh no, he's got to stop doing that, right? And so they tried to come to the radio station and stop me from ruining their after party, right? Because Biggie didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So I'm playing this music and, you know, buttering him up so I can get him to continue to say, there is no after party. Because we want to ruin anything Power 97 was doing.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So I was trying to ruin their after party. Because we didn't have it. So yeah, so nobody went to their after party. No, because Biggie kept saying it wasn't there. Yeah.
And listen, it's so funny because people will always say, you look like Faith Evans. You look like Faith Evans, right? I used to wear my hair a little bit more redder than this, right? So when she was rocking the red hair, I was rocking the red hair, and I thought, I cannot look, if I look like Faith Evans, I need to be here at this time because Biggie's in concert. And maybe he'll be like, she looks like Faith.
Come on in.
It didn't work out for him.
It didn't work out, yeah. Biggie was that dude, wasn't he?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he was a great lyricist.
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
A great lyricist.
And that's so my guilty pleasure is rap music.
Right.
And because of Biggie, that's what got me turned on to rap music, right? I sit and I listen to the lyrics.
Right.
Just drown the beat and listen to the lyrics of him and Jay-Z, right? I'm an English person too.
Right.
And realize that both of them use this, for lack of a better word, this procedure in English called double entendre, right? Where they're gonna say a word that sounds exactly alike with two total different meanings, right? And so when I realized that that's what they used,
that's interesting.
I started listening to the lyrics.
How dope is that?
And I'm like, okay. You hear it a lot more in Jay-Z's lyrics than you do in Biggie's. But once Biggie and Jay-Z really, really hit the charts, you'll see a lot of artists doing it now.
Oh, wow.
And so some of this, like in one of Jay-Z's songs, I don't know which album it was on, but he talks about, one of the lines says, I seen an Eiffel at the Eiffel Tower, right? If you listen, Eiffel sounds alike.
That's so dope.
But it's totally different. And in the English phenomenon, it's called a double entendre.
Double entendre, okay.
And when I realized, these guys are actually brilliant.
Yeah.
This is not just words. And you know, when the whole hip hop scene came and everybody was scared.
There is a mastery to it.
There is absolutely a mastery to it.
It is.
And these guys, whether they have college degrees or not, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant in their writing. And it's not just about the writing reflects their life and their experience. They're lyrical geniuses for real.
Really lyrical geniuses for real.
For real.
You know, I remember you telling New Cool, it doesn't take a rocket science to be a rocket science.
Right.
That was so dope when you told them that. And you were saying everybody know what they know well, right? And that's we have to give these some of the hip hop artists that credit that they knew what they knew and they knew it well.
They knew it well.
And they did it well. And we have to respect, we respect poets. We respect writers that write excellent novels and write excellent movies. So we have to respect these lyricists as well. So
and I think,
never looked at it like that until you shared it.
And I think for the most part, a lot of people do. What's scary when it comes to what we call the rap music is We don't, we as human beings, we as America, we don't want to own that these are the experiences of our neighbor. Because we all have something to do with that, right? When we can walk around and we have it all and we're not willing to give so that someone else can have just a little piece.
That's amazing.
It's easier when no one talks about it. Don't talk about it. Don't say it out loud because then we can all ignore it, right? But then when, again, going
now
back
we have to own up.
we have to own it, and we have to own the selfishness of
America.
of America and of us as individuals. But when you go back on that faith, which I don't care where I'm at, I'm always going to pull back from the faith side. And the whole crux of faith is give and it shall be given to you.
Wow, that's good. And I like how you say neighbors because, we all neighbors.
Yes, we're all neighbors.
In America. So own up to what you created.
Right.
And now they're telling this story and you want to erase that history.
Right.
And other history they're trying to erase, but that's another story.
Right.
Right. You can't erase that history. It is what it is. Own up to it. And let's do what Lora Cubbage is asking us to do, folks. Let's sit and talk together. Let's talk together, talk this thing out, and you're gonna find out when you were a kid, when your parents' ancestors came to this country, they went through the same struggle.
The same struggle, yeah. And a lot of what I recognize from all the years of law is, and I'm a witness,
Right.
It wasn't that I didn't want to do it, I didn't know how. And soon as someone helped me, yes, I'd sit down and do the research. That's the part I have to own. You've got to sit down and do the research to try to figure out how to get from A to Z.
Right.
But then over here on this other side, just give me a little bit of knowledge and see what I do with it.
That's when you giving me a chance to be on an even playing field. That's when you really get, don't tell me if I can do it, you can do it. Somebody gave you a hand up.
Right, and somebody gave you the how.
So give it to me.
Yeah, so we always say this is what you need to do, but we never tell them how to do it. And so that's one of my life passions and why I teach over at A&T. I want these students in criminal justice to understand, because when they come into the criminal justice discipline in college, most of them want to be a lawyer. They know that they got to go to law school, but they don't know how to get into the law school that they desire.
And you remember because you didn't know how to do it.
Because I didn't know how to do it. You know, and it's not just about taking a test. It's what do you want to do in college, right? You don't have to do criminal justice, but what you do need to make sure that you do is do a discipline where you can get a great GPA. Because it doesn't matter what discipline you graduate with when you go into law school. What matters is the GPA.
That's good. That's good. Man, listen, folks, I hope you really paying attention and share this, because you have a deputy attorney that wants to hear from you, that wants to bring the community together with law enforcement, city officials, and you're going to be heard. And not just heard, you're going to be seen. Finally,
yes.
The community and law enforcement coming together, and it's because of you. We didn't get to your favorite R&B artists, because I want people to get to know you on that level. Who are one of your favorite R&B artists? And we know your guilty pleasure is hip hop. I know that because I've known you. But when we were in that car together, when we were grand marshals together, Lora was playing hip hop, blasting hip hop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she is straight up.
I'm a jazz
you're
lover.
that real.
Yes.
That's what people say.
But I love jazz. On a Saturday, I'm normally, doing Lora, which is one of my pastimes is cleaning. And I'm listening to jazz or neo soul. So one of my favorite R&Bs would be neo soul, Jill Scott. I'm still old school. So I love going way, way back. Sometimes on a Saturday, I just want to hear the Otis Reddings and Sam Cookes. I might sit outside and read and listen to something. I love gospel, of course. I grew up on gospel. So Yolanda Adams is one of my favorite gospel artists. Yeah. Always. And that's it.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So that's how you find your peace, and that's how you
I
chill.
do, yes.
That's what's up. Now, I know what you do is being a woman and an African-American woman. I know people, say, why you always have to throw African-American in? Because it's our story.
It is.
It's our story. Yeah. It's our story. You're African-American woman, and you're in a very demanding position.
Mm-hmm.
When you have those days when you're stressed, we all go through it, and you're like, man, could I do this? What scripture do you turn to?
A lot of times I'll just look inward, and I don't know where the scripture is, but I'll put a bunch of scriptures together, and I literally do tell myself, with God, all things are possible. And again, going back to how I was raised, God may not bring everything to your life, but I'm a firm believer that He allows it. He has to allow everything in order for it to happen. And He's never going to take you to a place where He has not already made provisions. And you will always hear me say, my steps are ordered. I never make a move without prayer.
Wow.
Never. So when God showed me it's time to come off the bench with almost 2 years left in your term of us,
And you're elevating, man. Yeah. And you came, wow.
So I knew this is an area of law that I have to dig in deep to make sure that I'm proficient, right? But I had to understand and believe He's not going to bring me here if He's not already made provisions for that. And so what does that mean? Well, right now it means I'm 3 months in, and right now it means burning the midnight oil. But are you willing to do that? And there's stories in the Bible. There is a scripture that will tell you that sometimes God does not, most times God will not tell you what it takes to get from A to Z, because if He tells you, you won't go. So what He does tell you is just trust me. And if I start you here and I'm determined to get you here, I'm going to carry you through whatever comes on the in between.
God.
Yeah.
I am who I am, so it's going to go down.
It's going to.
It's going to go down.
But if I tell you that you got to walk through muddy waters,
right? The average person.
You don't like mud, so you're not going to go.
Right.
So I'm not going to tell you everything is going to take.
That's so good.
So never did I think I'd be burning the midnight oil, But I do. But I am, and that's just. How bad do I want the community to understand what the leadership in the city does?
Right.
How all things connect.
Right.
And that will tell you how much time and effort I'm willing to put in it. Well, I want the community to understand that everything, and it's not just about what the leadership does, it's about why you need to get to those polls and vote in municipal elections that are going to happen in 2025. Right. What does city council do? What does county commissioners do? Stop looking for a presidential election, because these 9 people on city council, and I think 9 people maybe on county commission, they're affecting your life every single day. Starting with, if you are a city employee, which we have 3,500, starting with what the minimum wage is going to be for you.
Yeah, the county commissioners making sure they're responsible for the money that's going to your children's schools. Yes. They're responsible.
Yes. What does the school board do? What is all that?
Wow, that's deep. So as we close, Lora, what legacy do you want to leave behind for your kids' to follow with this new position as deputy attorney in Greensboro?
I want for my kids, and then for everyone that has known that my life brought me through North Carolina, through Greensboro, and then just wherever the things that I've done has touched people, that if you want to make a difference in your life, your children's lives, your family's lives, the community around you, nationally and even globally, it starts with you. You can't wait for someone else to do it. You can't wait for someone else to find the answer. Sometimes you're the answer. and you don't even know it.
Wow.
But you've got to step out there first. So you've got to participate. The only way your life becomes what you dream of is if you participate.
That's good. You have a beautiful house.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm glad you came.
Yes, thanks for inviting me. I brought a gift for you.
Oh.
I'm gonna go get it.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. We're on camera. This is so ghetto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm getting up. Finally.
Yes, finally. So y'all, I've been asking for this shirt for what? You've had it for a month?
Yes.
Yes. But remember I said we have to own it, right? So I have to own that Buster has made ample attempts to get me this shirt. And every time we come up with where we're going to meet for me to get it and where I'm going to be and where he's going to be, most of the time it is my schedule that changes. And so I do apologize for that. But
we're here.
All's well that ends well. So we have it. And y'all, did y'all see my name on it? My name is even on it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
She is the new cool.
Yes, the new cool movement. I love what Buster's doing. I've been a fan of yours since I hit Greensboro. You know that.
And I'm a fan of yours and still am.
Yep.
And this was amazing. This was amazing. And look, folks, let's talk.
Yes.
We have someone that want to talk to you. They want to work with you. Let's make this happen. And we can start here in Greensboro.
Absolutely.
And then worldwide. That's where it all starts.
Yes. The City of Greensboro is always looking for partnerships with businesses, with organizations, to come together to make sure that life can be as close to what we want as possible by working together.
Working together. Look, folks, that's going to do it. Thank you so much, gorgeous.
You're welcome.
Yes. Don't go to people. Go to God, and you'll get the best results. People will give you opinions and ideas. God always gives results. See you soon. Peace.